All right, guys, this is season 2, episode 1, and it's the Bird's Eye View with Ceres Imaging. Excited to be here today. Missing my partner, Keith Yamamoto, but I'm here with the good-looking Matt Ribeiro from Ceres Imaging, and kind of excited to have you today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do with Ceres Imaging.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So I guess a little bit about myself. Come from a family farming background out in the Modesto area, out on the west side. My dad grew up on his family's dairy farm, and then after at some point my dad got done with college, his uncle gave him a little piece of ground and said, "Do with that what you want," and go from there. So planted almonds back in the early 80s, started there, and then bought more ground, and still have the dairy, still have the family farm.
Really?
Yeah.
It's still dairy? Where at? So it's in Modesto?
Yeah, it's out west side Modesto, kind of in between the kind of no man's land between Modesto and Vernalis, Patterson.
Got
area.
it.
So
Does your dad run the dairy?
No, so we handle all like the farming, all the corn, and oats and whatnot. My cousin Larry Inderbitson runs the day-to-day operation. My dad still handles things here and there, commodity buying, purchasing, feed, and whatnot.
Cool.
Yeah, the dairy it's a cooler thing now, I think, because we could take my daughter, who's 2.5, and Sunday evenings we'll have like family dinner and then hop in the Kubotas and zip down the street, and we'll go feed calves and let her.
I feel you, man. So you got a daughter.
I have a daughter.
And you do have a wife.
I have a wife, yes.
What's her name?
My wife, Alicia, my daughter, Nicola. And so, drug my wife, whose family does a little bit of farming in Kingsburg as well. So she comes from a kind of that family farming background as well. Drug them out to Modesto, and she's kind of beat me up over our living in the country situation until the pandemic and COVID happened. I was like, "Hey, remember when you gave me a hard time about buying this house in the country? It's paying off now." So.
Yeah, my wife drug me to the city about 3 years ago, and slowly we're kind of coming back to the country. And like you said, I come from a dairy family too, and there's nothing more enjoyable than taking your kid out with the cows and just learning that lifestyle, right? So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just like you have this space, but then also it's kind of where we work, and so then it becomes. And work is work. Like we kind of just talked before we got on here. Like working on the ranch is not, sitting in an air conditioned office. And there's certain days where you, like today, where you'd preferably not be out in the middle of the orchard at 100 degrees. But it becomes less of a job and more. You realize how much of a lifestyle and how much that's part of it, which is working with Ceres and still working with the ranch allows me to kind of take the best of both of those worlds. And I knew. I went to Fresno State, got my degree in ag business. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I was probably going to end up farming, and went right out of college, farm management for Ron Martella Farms out in the Houston area. Yep. And so
that's the walnuts, right?
Yeah, a lot of walnuts. They have a big walnut processor, grow direct nut company, and then they farmed almonds, walnuts in around the Houston area, and then did some stuff in Sacramento now. But anyhow, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do like full time, but I knew I wanted to stay in agriculture. I knew that community was where I wanted to be. It's all my dad's buddies growing up. They were all great dudes. It's kind of like, well, why do I want to leave this? And so, I worked for Martellus for a few years. My brother left the family farm to do some other work. And so I came back on and started working with my dad. And then we actually got approached as far as using Ceres Imagery as the service, and use it for a couple of years, and thought like this is like a great tool that we can use. And eventually through a few conversations with the Ceres folks, it's kind of like I'd call a consultant, but I was working with my rep to really, she had a PhD in remote sensing and really understood the technology that Ceres provided, but give a little background on Ceres as you keep going into why you went there, where you're going there, but just a little, background on Ceres and how it came about. Yeah. So Ceres, our our CEO and founder, Ash, was working with a consultant firm in South America on sugarcane operation. So using this multispectral thermal imagery, they were using it down there. And he had gone to school at Stanford. And so being that close proximity to like Napa Valley and then just the San Joaquin Valley itself, realized like, hey, and it was kind of during the drought years as well. So understood like, hey, water and resources are scarcity. This could be a tool that could really help those guys. And so Ceres has been running for about 7 years now, primarily in California. That's where the lion's share of what we do is, but up in Oregon, Washington, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all over the place, all over the world. Australia had an operation in Hawaii. I mean, essentially what has allowed us to really take off is the usability and the feasibility of the imagery. So essentially what we do at Ceres is, it's multispectral imagery over large amounts of acreage. But what that kind of boils down to is we fly over your fields, and based on a few different metrics that we kind of came up with, we can tell you where you're deficient in water and nutrients, and we can tell you the root cause of it. Really just give farmers transparency and coverage that would be almost impossible to do on foot.
It's a little easier to do it with a plane than walking in the field, huh?
It's almost impossible to walk in the field. I talk to guys and you get some of these guys who go, oh yeah, I walk all 5,000 acres. And I go, well,
you must be in really good shape.
Yeah. Some of them, actually the guy I'm kind of thinking of in my head was not in the type of shape where he could walk 10,000 acres. But look, even with Martello's, is managing about 1,000 acres. And that got tough because ranches are in different areas, different irrigation systems, solid set sprinklers, micros, drip, different water districts, old plantings, new plantings. We had patched work together. And this is kind of, I think, for farming, especially in the Valley in general, is, planted 40 and then you bought the 40 next year and you add that on and maybe we're going to use the old system and then not really understanding, are we getting the irrigation coverage that we wanted? So, and then, drones a few years ago were the big sexy thing. It was like, everybody had a drone. Well, drones give you, kind of a bird's eye view.
And they're slow. And
they don't get the coverage, but they're really just kind of telling you how your vegetation more or less looks.
Drones are kind of gone, huh?
They have a small application use to like smaller acreage, or if there's a specific subset of a ranch or an orchard you want to get maybe a more frequent view on. But yeah, they just, for the information that we can provide from a flight, covering 2,000 to 4,000 acres in a 3-4 hour window is going to take a drone a week to do.
Are you having water supply problems? If so, Water and Land Solutions can help. Water and Land Solutions is based on the ability to organize, manage, and understand the people they represent through effectively engaging with neighbors, regulators, agencies, and new partners to reach the stated goals and objectives. Water and Land Solutions are your go-to water experts. Reach out today at www.waterandlandsolutions.com.
I've had a lot of those fly-by-night guys come by, and I think the only thing drones are cool for is like making a music or video or something like that, right? I don't really see them in farming right now. It was hot, like you said, about 3 years ago during the whole drought deal. I farm a lot of drip. So they would be like, oh, we can find where your little leaks are. And you'd be like, well, the leak's been there for a fucking week, like, thank you, but you just got me the information back after everything's dead. Now I can see it with my eyes, so it's just a slow process.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's okay. We've seen it. What can we do with this? And what information this is really giving me? So, one of the things that we do provide with Ceres is NDVI, which is basically measuring canopy growth and vigor. And the way we color scale it gives you so much more of an articulate look at how your canopy growth and vigor is playing out over the field. Now, that's great for telling you what's been going on, what's been happening. Our water stress data, so our thermal based imagery, is actually telling you, okay, what's going on right here and now in the field. And it's really effectively measuring transpiration rate. And we apply the color scale. There's we're looking at 10% differences as you move from color to color. So a quantifiable measurement of saying, hey, you're 30% light in irrigation water to this specific area. And hey, based on this pattern, it looks like that valve that controls that area, there's something going on there. Let's go check that spot. So also in a time when, labor is being that much more, it's kind of like the big bugaboo right now in farming is how can we get labor down, labor costs going up, the hours guys can work before you start kicking into overtime. It's like, how can we more effective use everybody's time, right? So if we can know when to, where to look, when to look, and, diagnose that on the spot versus, running up a drone and seeing like, oh, that 80-acre section is wilting and kind of looking pretty stressed versus we could have seen that in a flight 2 weeks ago and showed you that you're, plus, you have drip. Can you tell if you're 15% off in applied water based on looking at a drip line? I can't. So think about deficit 15%.
You can, but it's after it's too late. That's the unfortunate. And I think, at first when I heard about you guys, I was thinking, oh, this is a great idea for people that own ranches all over, right? That and it is. Okay, so I'll get to that. But because I have quite a few ranches in different areas, from Gustine to, I don't know, just all over, And so, and when you're having somebody else manage it, it's kind of like, okay, it's a $15 cost for the year to, or whatever, how many times you're going to fly it, to be able to watch, make sure they're taking care of everything. Because like when I go look at my ranches, I'm not going up and down all the time because it's far away. You got to go look at everything. You're just flying by and is everything going? Everything always looks good from the outside. It's when you get in the guts that is things right. A particular thing that really caught my eye a long time ago, what you guys did for me is I put in a new system, and I think you can remember it is the Montague system, and it was designed right, everything. And at the end of the year, we just had a massive dieback, and it was like this perfect U. It was really weird. It was so perfect. It was like, I knew that it had to do with the drip system, and we come out there, we found out we didn't calibrate everything right. And I think it cost me probably a couple $100,000. And I wish we could have caught it sooner. We caught it when we're harvesting. It's like the tomatoes just rotted. I mean, we're in a high valued crop such as tomatoes or maybe bell peppers or something like that. You're too late. And almonds, you can come back, to a certain extent. Pistachios, I'm sure too. But when a high value crop like tomatoes, I mean, even corn, once you get behind the curve, you're done.
Sure.
Right. You're done.
Yeah. And I, to kind of speak to a couple things that, that having ranches kind of spread all around was my dad and I's kind of reasoning for jumping on board initially was, the home ranches are where we're going every day, kind of got a good grasp on those, but we had, a ranch in Waterford, which was at best 45 minutes away by truck. And then we had another ranch in Riverbank, another 45 minutes away. So we had this triangle and not everybody's going there. And so we thought, well, at the very least, this will check our work. And then we realized, hey, we can actually make some changes, some decisions made off this. So where we had that kind of tough ground, like, why don't we, instead of putting the same amount of time as we're doing the kind of sandier ground to the east, why don't we kind of like pulse that, and then we'll see how those trees do. And, we started losing a lot less trees. We kind of got, not to throw us under the bus, not to say lazy, but out of convenience, it was like, all right, we're just going to irrigate this all together. And I think that happens a lot is you start farming to the average and just like, all right, it's fine. We don't have time. But I think now when you have a metric to really see, hey, you're really losing, you're leaving a lot on the table by not spending a little more time with this. So that would be kind of a really practical use of the imagery. And to your point, something like tomatoes or bell peppers or onions or crops like that, like you said, if you flub an irrigation on trees, you don't want to make a habit of it, but you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You flub an irrigation day like today, it's 100 degrees. We get a week where it's 100 degrees plus 5, 6, 7 days in a row. Game over. If you're light by 15, 20%, like, that's coming out of your pocket at the end of the day, because it's such a more sensitive crop.
What are you seeing? You've been doing this for is this your third or fourth year with Ceres?
Fourth year using it. I think third year with them full time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is or maybe there's not, the most consistent mistake farmers are making that you're seeing in the fields once you're flying? Lack of water, overwater, or valves not right. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it comes back to how they're adjusting irrigation systems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things like that. I mean,
it's just general distribution uniformity, not realizing how, I think one of the big things with that is guys start getting these pressure regulating valves and pressure compensating valves and all these, I think, fail safes that you get in your head and like, oh no, I'm good because I have all these pressure. Well, that's not really the case. And that doesn't take into consideration all the sediments and things that are getting clogged up. And, is your drip tape running like it should? So distribution uniformity up and down the state, everywhere we really work, is fairly poor. And I think,
can you explain to somebody who's doesn't know, what does DU mean?
Distribution uniformity would be the uniformity in which the applied water gets to the field. And so we talk to growers all the time, and we get that, a lot of times we'll do like trial flights with guys, and we look at that first flight and they're kind of thinking like, no, we're good. Perfect there. Like no problems there. And then you go, well, you looks like you're about 20% off here, and what's going on over here, and what's this here? And guys are going, oh shit. Like, I don't know. I should probably go out and take a look. And turns out, the manifold in there is all busted up. And I guess I've been, again, deficit irrigating all season. And now looking at the trees, oh yeah, I am behind. So just getting water in the amounts that you needed to.
Are you looking for a well-established consulting company to help with field monitoring? Agri Valley Consulting has been around for 40 years. They specialize in identifying pest disease, weeds, crop health, and much more. Give Chris Morgner a call today at 209-769-2357.
Have you seen a pattern with, I know you don't want to mention them, but irrigation companies that maybe it's been similar on that type of irrigation company, that you've seen it on their fields because they're not designing the correct systems?
Yeah, we see quite a bit of that. And I've got to leave names and companies out just for this purpose. I'll tell you later. Yeah. They're definitely not central irrigation systems. But I'm out there, I'm talking with these guys, and they've got, he's about 7,000 acres. And I'm going, well, what are we looking at here? And he goes, system wasn't designed right. They've got another branch that's another 7,000 acres. What's this? What's this one? This? Like, it wasn't engineered correctly. And
I think I know where that ranch is.
And then they go back to them, and it's, they're kind of trying to like, well, it's because this and that. And great story. We had a grower out in the Gustine area. We're getting his imagery back, and keep looking at this consistent pattern of stress along the edge. So plenty of pressure on the main line, okay, and we're just losing pressure as we get to the ends of the rows, which is a fairly common thing. Okay, maybe we're not flushing the lines enough. Maybe an acid treatment's needed, whatever. So we talked about it. He's like, I'm going to go take a look. I'm at a golf tournament, and a guy from the irrigation design company comes up to me. He goes, hey, you cost me $80,000. I'm going, I don't know. What do you mean? What I do? He goes, well, grower was looking at your imagery, and we weren't getting this pressure. We went out and checked it, and we actually didn't size down the pipe correctly on the main line. And so, some of these irrigation companies, not central irrigation, some of these irrigation companies, it seems like it's quickly done. It's just the pipe gets out there, they go, it's in, and then there's not a ton of DU testing even once the system gets going. And I think growers get caught up, especially in early, third, fourth leaf trees where it's a new system. They go, yeah, it's like the system's brand new. It should have no problems. Like, well, you buy a brand new pickup, it doesn't run perfectly forever. You do consistent maintenance checks. And I think just, it's one of those things. We also found early on, my time with Ceres, was that guys didn't really know exactly how much or how well water was applied. And the thing for me, and I think we've talked about this, and I talked with Bonds about it as well, is you can do without every other input. I mean, obviously you need your NPK, and that helps things. But if you don't have water, you don't have nothing. Yeah. So that, given some of the issues in California, especially now with Sigma and just surface water availability, we're getting back to that where guys are understanding like, hey, I have a finite amount of water, and I need to make sure that whatever amount I have is going out uniformly and where it needs to go, and just can't afford to not be
I think
optimized.
It's going to be more critical. Do you, in your guys' company, are you guys, every year it's getting better? I've seen your guys' stuff. I know you guys do stuff for me and a lot of other people I know. I mean, you guys mapping, everything's just getting better. Your comments as far as, your little emblems that you're saying water or this, that. Are you guys getting even to the point where you guys are doing, looking at, what's it called, water scheduling for people, or even inputs by saying, hey, you guys probably should be looking at gypsum. We're making changes on the water, but the water's not going in. We're still seeing these areas. I mean, are you guys getting into that too, or is that something you guys are staying out of right now? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we're somewhere in between. So as far as how much water to be applied, the imagery is getting to the point where we can advise that a little bit more. At least the imagery is much more applicable to that. As far as, recommendations on you should put more gyp on, there's some generalities that we can talk to about. And we had some successes with growers we work with where we go, hey, you have X issue, and, Doug and Josh over at DCB, they had a similar issue. They did this, maybe that's worth a shot. And we, part of what we do with Ceres is we'll loop in growers, CCAs, PCAs, anyone, their areas, everyone that they're working with on these ranches, to get everyone kind of working from this 360 approach to really look at, collaborative effort to, hey, this is what we're seeing from our end. What can we do about these issues? And guys have taken our imagery and done all kinds of interesting things, installing, gyp injection systems because we're just not getting the penetration, or altering irrigation scheduling and calibrating it that way. We have some chlorophyll imagery that we provide this year. Been working on for the past couple of seasons. We're kind of measuring chloroplast density. So we're seeing, how well is your fertility program across the board? If most fertilization is done via fertigation. So if we're seeing inefficiencies in the system, whether it be the irrigation system, whether it be due to soil type, now we can measure, hey, you're probably pulling leaf samples from here, here, and here. Why don't we check some of these other areas that our imagery is showing you to be deficient? And guys are pulling soil and tissue samples from there and going, wow, like we're really deficient over here. And then because we have this imagery where we can actually quantify the affected acres, and we could say literally like, all right, we're going to apply this product in just this area. And so it helps growers use, in time where, nut prices being where they are. Hey, if we can treat this specific area and get this back up to speed and not have to use this product across the board, they're able to, kind of variable rate apply, for lack of a better term. So it's,
who do you really see grabbing onto it? Like, is there particular, I know a lot of the big farming companies, I know some of the guys you guys are doing it for, it doesn't surprise me. What are you seeing from your farm managers? Do you feel drawback from agronomists? Because agronomists probably don't like you guys flying, double checking them. I could see that being a conflict. An irrigation company getting pissed off at you. Tell me the goods and bads where you've seen guys fall in love with it versus guys maybe not using it no more because of, fake news, right? You're getting your manager, I don't want that no more, because it's a warning shot, right? It's hey, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, we definitely get some of that pushback. Sometimes we get it from the agronomist, the PCAs, occasionally the farm manager who's, kind of doesn't want that eye in the sky who's watching over him, or the PCA who doesn't want potentially something he's missed, exposed. And what I tell to those guys, like, hey man, this is just, again, I've been in farm management, family farm. Like, I get it. It's not an easy gig. And nor are we saying you should catch everything. We'd like you to catch everything. Yeah. If you're not missing anything, I've got some acreage in the Modesto area. If there's some agronomists out there who want to take a crack at it, but say, hey man, this is a tool to help you do your job better.
Yeah.
If there is something out there that you're not seeing, there's no bliss in ignorance, to use that term. So if this could show you where you were struggling and quantify that and give you a direction of where you need to go, it's a phenomenal tool for that. So we get a little bit of pushback there. We get some guys who kind of say, well, I can't do much about that because of XYZ constraints and constrictions. But, when you really start peeling back that onion and realize it's just, okay, I need to prioritize this.
Yeah.
As far as who I see really taking off of this, it's really all up and down. So we were working with some of the biggest growers in the state, which makes a ton of sense to most guys and say, yeah, you're farming 10, 15, 20, 30,000 acres. Of course you need that eye in the sky. But we had a program in San Joaquin County, kind of that Lodi area, where the San Joaquin RCD subsidized this grant, and they basically said, hey, growers of all shapes and sizes, try this product out for a lower cost to them. And we had these like 20, 40, 80 acre kind of weekend farmers who could really get down in there and had the time to like dial in, like go to each individual tree and unplug emitters and do these. It was really cool to see some of the things that these guys would do, where literally this vineyard grower up in Escalon area, there was this little triangle of stress that we saw. And he's like, yeah, I just went out there and I put an extra hose of drip using the GPS tool on your guys' mobile app. And like, cool to see the evolution of it, you're like, it's a very micro approach to it, but he was like, yeah, this makes sense for me. And, I'm trying to grow this boutique, wine grape. And so of course I want it to be as optimal as I can. So, growers of all shapes and sizes are getting value from the guy who just wants to make sure, hey, I got 25,000 acres. I can't look at it all. I want to make sure my guys are doing what they're doing, to the 40-acre weekend farmer who's like, I can't afford to leave anything out on the table. And so I need to squeeze every little bit I can out of this. So.
Are you looking to improve yields and margins? Now you can with organic solutions produced from farm waste. Coragen unravels plant structures into organic biomolecular solutions and soil amendments that help farmers increase yields and soil fertility while reducing chemical, fertilizer, and water use. The process is carbon negative and perhaps the most sustainable process on Earth. For more information, reach out to Coragen today at www.coragen.co.
So the next question, and I'm sure you get a lot of shit for this, is you're looked at as a tech company, right? And I get all kinds of tech companies come by to us, and most of them we just throw right out the window because I don't really like computers that much anyways. But you guys are far from that. But yet I feel you guys are really locked in on that block. I feel like everybody looks at Ceres Imaging as a tech company, and so how do you beat that, argument by people that say, oh, I'm not really into that tech crap or whatever. How do you get through that challenge? Or is it sometimes non-negotiable with farmers, or, what's your strategy with that? And to say, hey, we aren't that, or we have some of that and it's a value. I mean, what's been your challenge with that, and how do you overcome that?
I think, for the most part, I don't get it a ton, just because, within 5 minutes of having a conversation with a guy, we get to like my background. We understand like, hey, I'm the same, and all the, actually, from the, all the reps in the field, all primarily come from farming backgrounds or from the Valley. So they understand that it's not this, this tech company out of Israel, and there's a guy flying out here every month to kind of run around and check us, not to throw those guys on the bus. They, some of them do some really good work. Because what we do is so user friendly. It's not like you have to have some tech guy come in and hold your hand and walk you through what you're seeing. I've heard about that with some companies out there. We're like, yeah, they got me on the line with their tech team and their science side, and they did, had to explain this and this. I mean, the imagery is very clear. You have this pattern out here in the field. It's 30% transpiring less effectively. Go out there, look at that. We also don't act like we're going to take the farming out of it. Like, hey, we're going to here's the information, here's the data. We will do our best to kind of help you pinpoint these areas, quantify these areas, measure these areas, but we're not taking the farming out of it. We're not blowing smoke these guys and saying like, we're going to fix all your problems, which you hear about.
You can't fix their problem. They have to fix it. You're the tool.
Right.
To help one matter.
Right.
Which is the most important, which is water.
Right. We're a tool. We're a tool. We're not a wave a magic wand and all your problems are fixed. And I think you see that. And I've seen it coming from the farming background. I remember when I was with Martell, even at the family ranch, where you have these tech companies come in and they're saying, I will guarantee you this ROI if you use this product, and this is how, this technology, and this is how it works. And I'm going like, man, you clearly don't know anything about farming if you're telling me like you have a hard ROI when you can't quantify. What if we get a bad frost? Is that going to help me? Is your product still going to give me that ROI? I guess, well, no, because of okay, so you can't guarantee that. So why are you doing that? And I think that's a problem that some of the tech companies had. And, I read an article not too long ago about how some of these ag tech companies have like 2 to 3% agricultural background amongst their employees. I don't know the exact percentage of hours, but I know everyone in the field has some sort of agricultural background. We have PCAs, CCAs, family farming.
I've actually met one of your founders or owners, and he's a tech guy, but he's highly invested in farming. Mm-hmm. And he's actually brilliant in it. And it was owned some ground in Arizona. I know he owned some ground in Oakdale, and it was. After listening to him, it was, he put his money where his mouth is, right? He's not just, he was a tech guy, brilliant tech guy, HDMI guy, but he's highly vested in farming. So yeah, you're right. It's not an ownership group or a team that is working out of Malaysia or, writing code, right?
And I think one of the cool things is in my time with Ceres, and when I started using the imagery, I think we were 15 employees. Back then it was like, we're going to try and fly you on Wednesday if we can get the acreage up. If not, it's like, I call my, colleague and still at the company, Jenna Rodriguez, and I'd say, hey, Jenna, did that flight go up? Like, oh, the pilot's wife got sick, he had to take her to the doctor, so we're going to try again tomorrow. And, and now we're flying over 1 million unique acres year over year. I don't know what the tally for this year will be, but what's been interesting and watch all these employees come on. I think we're like 115, 120 or something now. The biggest recurring theme I also see amongst the back end, the techies, the people who do the processing imagery, is they are very driven by sustainability, and they are very eco-friendly. They want to help growers better utilize their inputs, and it's like this cool where they want to say like, hey, I want to do better by.
They're the people that shop at Trader Joe's and,
Oh, they shop at, Whole Foods on steroids. They're all,
they stink. They're kind of stinky people.
They've been stuck in their apartments in the Bay Area for the last month or two. But, they really want, better effective use of input. So it's not just this like bunch of tech people who are trying to get rich. It's people who want to help farmers, knowing that, especially in California, it truly is the backbone of the economy, the backbone of the state. I mean, you could talk about Bay Area tech. Obviously, it's huge. You can talk about the entertainment industry in LA, but, that whole stretch of space between those two areas.
Yeah.
It's farming. Yeah. Osaoki. It's the cornucopia, the breadbasket of literally the world. I went to China 10 years ago. So maybe I was agent 0 on the virus, but going over there and seeing how much they valued California products, California almonds, California cherries, California produce, and it would be, labeled in huge big letters, and seeing the Murata produce labels, and it was just one that came to mind, but seeing these, grown in Tracy, California, grown in Fresno, grown in Madera, grown in Merced, you're seeing these logos all around, and you're going, wow, like I'm literally on the other side of the world, and our products are here, and they are so
Problem
valued.
is they value it more than we do.
Maybe to some degree, I think you see that. And it's conversations I have with people all the time, and even some internal conversations. I think we've had some really great discussions internally with Ceres of talking about, hey, like, what's this whole thing about almonds using 8 billion gallons of water per nut? It's like, well, it's not exactly how it shakes out. So there's been some great education of the people that work with Ceres about really like how this works. Like, we're not throwing out all these inputs just for, just to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're using as little as we possibly can and trying to, if you look at I think there's maybe a misconception of California agriculture in general being poor users of inputs. But you look at where we went from flood irrigation to drip irrigation, and now some of this deep root irrigation, like we're pretty good at using as little as we can and conserving.
Farmers are the biggest conservatives.
There's, and that whole stewardship of the land thing, that some of the ground that we farm on, like where our dairy has been the family for 60, 70 years. I don't want to deplete any of that ground to the point where my daughter won't be able to see it and her kids won't be able to see it. So none of us are out there trying to destroy the ground. We want to, keep it fertile and as vigorous as we can for as long as we can. So
this was a lot of fun, but how do we get in contact with you, man? How do Ceres or you or?
Yeah. CeresImaging.net is our website. That's a quick, easy spot to go to. Contact me directly, 209-495-6579, Matt Ribeiro. Get you in contact with whichever one of our guys in the field who can help you out the most. We go from Napa to the Grapevine, down into, depending on where you're at, Coachella Valley, the Pacific Northwest, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. If you're got corn and grain out in the Midwest, we're out there. And if there's any growers in Australia checking this out, we have an operation out there as well. Wow. So either check out our website out or give me a call, and I'll point you in the right direction if you need to talk to.
Well, we call this the toast, so let's toast. I know you're having an 805 and I'm having a Heineken because we ran out of 805. Yeah. So cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.